Unit 6, Making a Difference. Today we are going to go over reading 2. Very good. Open your textbook at page 164. 164. Reading 2, Some Take the Time Gladly, Problems with Mandatory Volunteering. Okay. Many educational organizations in the United States require high school students to devote a certain number of hours outside of the classroom to community service in order to graduate. Supporters of mandatory volunteering believe that the school's role should include both preparing children to be academically successful and helping them to be responsible citizens who are active participants in their communities. However, not everybody believes that mandatory volunteering is a good idea. Those opposed to the requirement believe that the term mandatory volunteering is an oxymoron, a contradiction. They believe that volunteering should be something you do for your own or of your own free will. It is not something that is forced on you. Okay, we're going to talk about that. Real quick, an oxymoron means that there is a contrast. If we're saying mandatory volunteering is an oxymoron because mandatory means that you have to do it, and volunteering is something that you don't have to do. There's something you'd like to do. So mandatory volunteering is therefore is contradicting and therefore an oxymoron. Number 1, look at the bold-faced words in the 2 opinions and think about the questions. Number 1, which words do you know the meanings of? And 2, can you use any of the words in a sentence? Yeah. So if you're looking at the text, indignation, fulfilling, oxymoron, oppose, resentful. Yeah. Okay, take some time to answer those questions. Go ahead. Okay, before we continue, I would like you to preview the text first by looking at the heading and the subheadings and the pictures and to figure out what type of text it is and what the purpose is, and therefore knowing what our focus is. Go ahead, do that first. Very good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to skim the text to get the main idea of the whole text. So remember, read the first paragraph, read every topic sentence, and read the concluding paragraph to get the main idea. Pause your video to do that. Go ahead. Great. That means you got the main idea. Write it down. Write down the genre, the purpose, and the main idea, because in our next Zoom meeting, I'm going to ask you that. Great. Number 2, read the 2 opinions about mandatory volunteering. As you read, notice the bold-faced vocabulary and try to guess its meaning from the context. Try to guess what the meaning of each text is by looking at the context. Means you're going to pay notice to what is mentioned before that particular word and after to figure out what the word means. Okay, make sure that you read along and annotate the text on main points while we're reading. Let's go.
Some Take the Time Gladly by Mensa Dean from the Washington Times. Mandatory volunteering made many members of Maryland's high school class of '97 grumble with indignation. Future seniors, however, probably won't be as resistant now that the program has been broken in. Some, like John Maloney, already have completed their required hours of approved community service. The Bowie High School sophomore earned his hours in 8th grade by volunteering 2 nights a week at the Larkin Chase Nursing and Restorative Center in Bowie. He played shuffleboard, cards, and other games with the senior citizens. He also helped plan parties for them and visited their rooms to keep them company. John, 15, is not finished volunteering. Once a week, he videotapes animals at the Prince George County Animal Shelter in Forestville. His footage is shown on the Bowie Public Access television channel in hopes of finding homes for the animals. Volunteering is better than just sitting around, says John, and I like animals. I don't want to see them put to sleep. He's not the only volunteer in his family. His sister Melissa, an 8th grader, has completed her hours also volunteering at Larkin Chase. It is a good idea to have kids go out into the community, but it's frustrating to have to write essays about the work, she said. It makes you feel like you're doing it for the requirement and not for yourself. The high school's Service Learning Office, run by Beth Ansley, provides information on organizations seeking volunteers so that students will have an easier time fulfilling their hours. It's ridiculous that people are opposing the requirements, said Amy Rouse, who this summer has worked at the Ronald McDonald House and has helped to rebuild a church in Clinton. So many people won't do the service unless it's mandatory, Rouse said. But once they start doing it, they'll really like it, and hopefully it will become a part of their lives, like it has become a part of mine.
Problems with mandatory volunteering. I think the school board's plan to implement a mandatory volunteering program is a terrible idea. First of all, let me say that I am already a volunteer and proud of it. In fact, I do volunteer work at my local library as well as tutor elementary school kids at my church's after-school program. I believe that, at least in part, the reason that I enjoy volunteering and am effective at it is that I am not being forced to do it. In addition, I can choose to volunteer with people and organizations that interest me. That is not always the case with mandatory volunteering. I am a new transfer student in this district and am very happy that we currently do not have a mandatory volunteering program here. However, my last school did, and for many students, it was not a good experience. Imagine how new students must feel when they are told that to graduate, they will have to volunteer hundreds of hours. They are already overwhelmed by schoolwork and so often end up just completing their hours, but not putting in any effort. As a result, the quality of their volunteer work is much worse than the work done by volunteers who actually choose to volunteer. In addition, students who are told they must volunteer may become resentful and not want to volunteer in the future. Volunteering becomes a negative experience. On the other hand, many students do already volunteer, and those who choose to do so make a real difference. Another problem is that many students have busy after-school schedules. They have family, work, and athletic responsibilities. For example, many students need to be able to work after school in order to help out their families or to save money for college. Some have to take care of younger siblings or grandparents, and still others use this time to participate in athletics. School starts and ends at set times, and any school-related activity after those times is extracurricular, such as the football team or science club. To participate in these activities is a personal choice, just as volunteering should be. Nothing should be required of a student after school except homework. Finally, the term mandatory volunteering is an oxymoron. Volunteering is something you do of your own free will. If it is mandatory, it is not volunteering. For all these reasons, I am totally opposed to our school implementing a mandatory volunteering program and suggest that volunteering be left as a personal choice. It should not be made mandatory.
So it should not be forced, right? Yeah. Okay, very good. We go to the comprehension questions. Both writers give reasons to support their opinions in the editorials. Complete the chart with the reasons found in the editorials. Okay, for mandatory volunteering, there are 3. Against mandatory volunteering, there are 6. 1 is already given. Volunteering is a personal choice. Okay, I want you to find the reasons in the text. Now, in order to do that, you will scan the text for keywords. Scan the text for keywords to find where to read and find the reasons, the main points that will complete this chart. Okay, pause your video and do it. Go ahead. Awesome. That brings us to the reading skill, recognizing persuasive language. Okay. What words do the authors use to show that the opposing point of view makes no sense? And why do they choose to use these words? We can find that in reading 2. Yeah. Recognizing persuasive language. Now, when trying to persuade a reader to agree with their ideas, writers use persuasive language. These words or phrases add structure and depth to writers' ideas. Writers use persuasive language to support their own points of view and also to oppose ideas they're trying to refute. In many cases, persuasive language evokes strong emotion. So it has a lot of emotion, and the writer will promote his or her own idea and probably show that the opposing idea is not good. Look at this quote from paragraph 9 of "Some take the time gladly." "It's ridiculous that people are opposing the requirements," said Amy Rouse, who this summer has worked at the Ronald McDonald House and has helped to rebuild a church in Clinton. What words does the author use to persuade the reader that his point of view is the only sensible way to think? He uses a quotation that connects the words ridiculous and opposing to support his point of view and dismiss those who don't agree with him. The writer could have stated the same idea without evoking such strong emotions. For example, instead of using that quotation, he could have written, "It doesn't make sense that people do not like the requirements." But that would not be as persuasive. The word ridiculous suggests that it is impossible to take people's reactions seriously. They make no sense. With opposing, the writer shows that it is not just that people don't like the idea of mandatory volunteering, but that they are actively trying to stop it. Now, this choice of words is strong and creates a clear difference in attitudes toward mandatory volunteering. So the choice of words and how you say it will definitely show how persuasive you are. So you put a lot of emotion in it, and the words that you're using are very persuasive, so people easily believe what you say. Okay, reread reading 2 and find the persuasive words that describe the opposing point of view. Look in the indicated paragraphs. Some take the time gladly. Paragraph and number of words, the phrases, and persuasive words that evoke negative emotions. In paragraph 9, the number of words are 2. There's ridiculous and opposing. What about number 1? That's paragraph 1. It has 2 words. Grumble and indignation. Grumble and indignation. Now I want you to look at paragraph 2. It has 1 word. Paragraph 7 has 1 word. You're going to fill that out. Problems with mandatory volunteering. Also, persuasive words that evoke negative emotions. Paragraph 1, 1 word. Paragraph 3, 5 words. Paragraph 5, 2 words. You can pause your video. Go ahead. Scan through the text to find the answers. Great. Look at the words and phrases you have selected. Let's see. Number 1. How do these words influence your thinking about the topic of mandatory volunteering? 2. Do these words make you agree more or less with the writer's opinions? 3. Which 2 words from each of the articles were most effective in making you agree with the authors? Answer that, please. Go ahead. Okay, from the activity just now, we could see that our words are very important. The way we say something and the words we use can really persuade someone to believe what we're saying, especially also when we put emotion in it. Now we're connecting the readings, basically from reading 1 and the text from reading 2, organizing the information into one chart. In this unit, the readings, reading 1 and 2, addressed 4 issues relating to volunteering. That it is for personal enrichment, time commitment, personal choice, and dedication to work. I'd like you to go back to the indicated paragraphs in the readings and find quotes or statements that relate either positively or negatively to one or more of the issues. Underline the passages in the text, then write the issue next to the correct paragraph number in the chart. Some issues may be used more than once. Justin Libu, that's from text 1. Paragraph 22, the issue is dedication to work. Paragraph 23, paragraph 24. Some take time gladly, reading 2, paragraph 2 and 5. And problems with mandatory volunteering, paragraph 2, 3, and 4. Please go back to the text, scan it to find the answers. Go ahead. And to close it, I would like you to give your opinion, what you think about mandatory volunteering. What do you think about mandatory volunteering? Please write your answer to that question down here, so in our next Zoom meeting, we can check that together. Yeah, I repeat, what do you think about mandatory volunteering? What do you think about mandatory volunteering? Yeah, very good. Okay, that brings us to the end of our lesson. Wow, so good. We have been doing reading 1. Yes, we've been doing reading 1. And from reading 1, we talked about, oops, that was here. We have been talking about reading 1, and from reading 1, we went over some bold-faced words, yeah? And we looked at those words in context of the text. Then we read 2 parts of a text which stated an opinion, and we scanned through the text to find answers to the comprehension questions. Then we did a reading skill, recognizing persuasive language through the words that are used, the structure that is used, and emotion that's placed in it. And we connected reading 1 and 2. Very good. Thank you very much for joining me today. I will see you very soon. God bless you. Bye-bye.